Hello and welcome to the Responsive Family Sleep Podcast. I'm your host, Kim Hawley, holistic sleep coach, lactation consultant, peaceful parenting educator, and mom. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by all the conflicting sleep info, frustrated with sleep information that just plain felt wrong, or searched desperately for a truly gentle and responsive sleep approach, then you are in the right place. In each episode, we'll be answering your most pressing baby and toddler sleep questions, busting those sleep myths, and helping you understand truly developmental, biologically normal baby and toddler sleep, plus encouraging you to trust your intuition along the way. Let's get started. Hello and welcome back to the podcast. Today, or this week, I want to talk about independent sleep. And I've touched on independent sleep before in some episodes, but I want to spend some time just focusing on what it means to have independent sleep as one of your sleep goals. Almost all of the parents who reach out to me have that on their radar somewhere. Sometimes it feels urgent and immediate. Sometimes it's very long. We're fine, going really slow. We'll get there eventually. We just want to know what that looks like. Sometimes it's a few hours at the beginning of the night, so they can put baby down and get up and do a few things together for themselves, get some stuff done, relax. Sometimes it's all night, right? There's so many ways we think about independent sleep and have goals around independent sleep. And I find independent sleep such a tricky goal to help parents wrap their brain around. Because independent sleep is not inherently biologically normal for a baby. It's not inherently something that all babies can do or that all toddlers can do. Now, before you go, wait, Kim, what are you judging me on my independent sleep goals for? I am absolutely not judging or criticizing or saying you shouldn't have it as a goal. But I do think we need to think about independent sleep within that context, right? Independent sleep is not inherently biological normative. We are carrying mammals and we are communal and social sleepers. And I was talking about these points a little bit on a podcast a bit back about healthy sleep, right? Because independent sleep and healthy sleep are so synonymous, are so interchangeable in Western culture that we really define healthy sleep as independent sleep or independent sleep as healthy sleep. And so when we're thinking about, okay, that's great, but what does that mean for an independent sleep goal? And this is hard because there is such a range of babies' capacity, of young children's capacity, and that capacity varies over time. It's not an inherently stable milestone. We've got our baby down, they can sleep separate from us, or they can fall asleep without support, and now we're always going to keep that. And that's because the ability to fall asleep independently or sleep separate from you, it's complex. It means that your little one is able to have that nervous system regulation to let go of being awake, to let go of that reality, that awareness, to relax into sleep and to maintain sleep. And as they move between sleep cycles, to feel safe and not have any needs to sort of shift into that next sleep cycle. And yet, right, this isn't something that a lot of littles can do, or it's something they might be able to do in some phases, but not other phases, say during a period of really rapid development or a peak in separation anxiety. And then on top of that, we really have to look at your baby's temperament, because easygoing littles often cope easier with separate sleep or more independent sleep than highly sensitive littles. And littles that are extremely touch focused, right? They are above average in their touch needs for regulation, their touch needs for feeling safe and secure, for being able to relax. If they're above average at that, they're going to struggle with separate sleep, right? With more independent sleep, much more than your average baby. And so you might have an independent sleep goal. Maybe it's, I want to be able to get my baby down and have them go a few hours at the beginning of the night without me there so I can get some stuff done. And that is a pretty modest independent sleep goal, right? Most babies, after a certain period, you should be able to do that. Most older babies, most toddlers, we should be able to get that. And yet, sometimes we can't, because sometimes that is absolutely not where your kiddo is at. Or maybe they can go one sleep cycle, but they can't link those sleep cycles without you. And I think this is really important to think about, is sometimes we don't know what's realistic for your specific baby until we get into it. So there's sometimes people reach out to me and they're telling me a goal about independent sleep and where their kid's at now. And I am thinking, okay, I understand where you're coming from. And that is probably not realistic for your child in the near future, right? And then there are other times people reach out and I'm like, oh, that sounds like a really realistic goal in theory. But in theory, it doesn't always mean in practice. And this thing with independent sleep is you can't force independence. Like, it's not something we can force beyond your baby's capabilities. Because if we stress your baby out in order to get independent, separate sleep, it's not healthy independence. Sometimes it's just a baby shutting down, right? If we're thinking about it from a sleep training lens. Or if you push too hard, you can get a baby that is clingy, right? Is kind of reacting to that too strong a push for independence by trying really hard to keep you close. And so I like to think of independence as a journey. And at any given phase, we're looking at what is your kiddo doing and what is the next step you can take in that independence journey. Sometimes it's hold still, like just let's stay here. Let's just give this, wave of separation anxiety some time to pass, or this really messy period where they're just started walking. Let's give this a little time. Sometimes the answer is, okay, your kiddo actually needs a bit more support. Like you just moved, they're in a totally new environment, or they just started daycare. They just switched daycare. This is the time we actually need to increase support. Or maybe it's like, okay, what is our next step that we can take towards more independent sleep? And we take that step, right? And so when people are like, how long will it take to get my baby more independent or my toddler more independent? Sometimes it actually can be fairly quick, right? And sometimes it can be really slow. And that is because it is normal for young children to want to be close to their parents, to need to be close to their parents, especially the really little ones. And that independent sleep is this big, complex thing that not all littles are ready for. And so when people are thinking about, okay, how do I do independent sleep? I am often saying, take it one step at a time, like I just said, but also take it one, sleep space at a time. Like, don't try to go from contact napping and co-sleeping to trying to do separate sleep at every opportunity. Like, that doesn't make sense. That's a huge ask. So let's pick times where your little is more likely to accept the sleep. Let them get comfortable with that less support, and then pick, more times so that it's small steps as far as less support or you being further away from them, but it's also small steps as in, let's just pick one nap. Let's just pick a section of the night. And that's just more manageable, and it is less frustrating and overwhelming for you and for your little one. So I hope this episode hasn't totally bummed you out. I think my inspiration for talking about this topic is really around the fact that there is such a wide range of normal and capacity here that we need to look at our baby's temperament and look at who they are and look at their needs and have patience with that. And so there is going to be, the 1-year-old that does beautifully falling asleep on their own and sleeping on their own. And there's going to be the 1-year-old who is a complete contact napper, bed sharing, needs lots of support to fall asleep. And that is all normal, right? Every kiddo is kind of on their own path towards independent sleep and towards needing less support. And so getting too attached to timelines and exactly how things look can just put you at odds with your little one. And so sometimes you just want to think a little out of the box, like what need is not getting met here? How can you meet those needs while you support that slower journey towards independent sleep, rather than fixating too much on, I need to get my baby independent as fast as possible. Think, how can I support my baby on their next step towards more independence, and what needs am I struggling to meet, and how else can I meet them so that I have the patience to support that independent sleep journey. So I hope this episode gave you some food for thought. I know this is such a big topic and such a tricky topic and such a topic that brings so much frustration up when you have one of these more sensitive babies who really takes a lot longer to get more independent with sleep. But I hope this gives you a little bit of perspective on how tricky it can be to set those types of sleep goals, and how they really are a journey with ebbs and flows along the way. Thank you for joining me today. I hope this episode left you feeling more informed, confident, and encouraged on your sleep journey. And just a reminder before you go that nothing in this episode is individualized to your specific sleep situation, nor is it to be taken as medical advice. Take what resonates, ignore what doesn't, and check with your healthcare provider about any medical concerns. Take a moment to subscribe to this podcast so that you'll never miss an episode. And take a moment to rate, review, or share an episode you love on social media. All of that helps parents just like you find me, this podcast, and this gentle and responsive sleep information. I'll see you next time.